Have you ever met someone that felt like your crafting spirit animal? Well, that's how I felt about Kelsey Hartung when I met her, the founder and chief gift designer for Give Wrapped. Welcome to the show, Kelsey.
Oh my gosh. Hello, Amanda.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Every single week, just so you know, and for our new listeners, every single week on the Let's Glow show, we talk to a creative entrepreneur about their journey, their path, their glow up, tips and tricks for life, business, and beyond. I'm your host, Amanda Sweet, the Creative Fairy Godmother, and I help people get fly, make friends, and save the world through community. And if you've been following along for a little while, I'm trying a new intro, but we just figure it out. We get it together. So everyone, welcome Kelsey. That's my round of applause clap. All right, Kelsey. So when we met, we were like sitting in a networking event in a coffee shop. We were
Yes.
very far from each other. We didn't get really a lot of time to connect, but I was like, oh, I like this girl's energy. She's very, very eclectic. And then I found out that you own a gift wrapping company. Tell me a story. What does that mean? Because you're the first person I've ever met that's like, I'm a professional wrapper, a strategic gifter. Like, tell me the boilerplate.
So, Give Wrapped is Michigan's gift design studio. We specialize in thoughtful, personalized, and strategic gifting strategies and also professional gift wrapping. We use materials that are from around the world. Some of my papers at the moment are from the United States, Nepal, and Japan. And, we think that you put so much thought into a gift that the outside of the box should just be as thoughtful. It should be just as beautiful. So everything is really personalized to the recipients. And we have way too much fun every day because who isn't happy giving or getting a gift? Giving or receiving a gift, I should say getting and getting, but giving and
Yeah.
receiving a gift, it's always a good feeling.
I love it. It seems like such a fun outlet, like business wise. It seems, every time we talk, we're talking logistics, we're talking planning. You have a lot of that background. How did you end up in gifting? Because I feel like you do the strategy side, but it's so niche, it's so specific, but also like people out here looking for you. They're like, there's a gift wrapper here. I heard there's a gift wrapper here. So I'm curious how you got to gift wrapping. Like, how did you get to this point?
It wasn't a straight shot. It never is. And I got to gift wrapping. I actually am a professional gift wrapper. I trained with a woman in England and a woman in Atlanta, but I didn't do that out of college. I actually went to college to be an investigative journalist. It was really yeah. It's like I was gonna tell stories, like expose the truth. And when I realized out of college I was going to make 20 grand a year if I was lucky, I was like, I like to write. What else can I do? So I looked into public relations because it's kind of a cousin to journalists, you helping journalists tell their stories and working with clients and getting the story out. So it wasn't an investigative journalism pursuit, really, but it was kind of a variation. And I worked at an amazing firm, Berg Muirhead and Associates. They were Michigan's largest Black-owned communications agency. And my bosses worked for Mayor Young. And it was so fun. We had clients from like Fago and New Detroit, City Year, all these really important Detroit organizations and companies. And part of my job, I've always been pretty creative. I would put together press kits like for Fago's products. And it's like, ooh, what can we put in this? How can we make this a campaign? And it kind of started there. And then people, like my boss would ask me one time, oh, can you wrap my grandson's Christmas presents? And then more and more kind of happened. And, oh, we need to get a gift for this client and that client. And that kind of just went into the background. And then I went on to have a couple other public relations jobs, Public Lighting Authority, for Illich Holdings, General Motors. And I had some really sexy, like executive jobs. They were really fun. And after a couple layoffs and being really unhappy, I was really depressed. It was a really dark time. I was like, okay, Goal number one, be happy. Because
Right.
work isn't going to make me happy. That's not a guarantee. How can I be happy? And also, I could use some sun. I think that would make me happy.
I
Kale,
know, right? A little bit for all of us. Yeah.
January. Um,
Sorry.
and it was just, it was like, well, when are people happy?
Mm.
They're giving and getting, when they're giving and receiving a gift, of course. So I was like, oh, and I had all this experience in public relations and putting together board gifts and executive director gifts and press kits and employee gifts. I was like, oh yeah, it's a version of public relations in a way. So it just kind of happened.
Love that. But you made it happen. You created this beautiful brand. When I see it, it screams you. When I see you, you scream the brand. Like you did a beautiful job. How long have you been in business now?
About 4 years.
That's amazing. And people are coming in all the time. And when I first started talking to you about it, I was thinking as someone who is in the entrepreneurial world, I was like, how can I work with Kelsey? I'm always thinking like, how can I work with people? And I'm trying to put someone like not in a box, but like in an opportunity. I'm like, okay, I can plug you in here. I can plug you in here. And I was thinking about it for a while with you. And I was like, how can I plug in Kelsey into my world? Like, how can I tap her in? And I realized that I already give gifts quite a bit. And they're usually like last minute. It's usually a bouquet of flowers. It's usually like same day. It's usually like upwards of almost $200 every time, and I'm just like rushing to XYZ flower company and seeing what the next earliest available delivery is. And I do it knowing that I intentionally want to do something to make that person feel a way, but I don't always feel good giving that as the gift because I feel like I'm not. So that's when I started talking to you. I was like, what can I do? I don't even know. Like, I understand in the back of my mind, in my body, the impact of giving gifts. And as someone that likes to do it, I know what it does. But let's talk a little bit about the strategy of gift giving and why and how it impacts business relationships.
Well, you hit the nail on the head. See, and you are like everybody else, right? It's always the last minute thing. It's like, oh, I should get a gift for,
So, whatever.
yeah.
Yeah.
And but it's the thoughtful thought that counts. And you put in that thoughtful thought and you're like, oh, she's gonna like this, and this.
Mhm.
And so that's the trick to gift giving, it's being thoughtful. And it's making people feel valued and telling them that you care and that you put enough thought into it. It's not just, oh, here's a branded coffee mug and here's a candle. No, I mean, like,
Right, right.
and if somebody really loves fresh flowers, that's a great gift for them.
Yeah.
So, and it's not a one size fits all. It's not cookie
Mhm.
cutter. So it really depends on the people, and it's just thinking about who they are, what's going to resonate with them, and it can be a reflection of you, it can be for them, but it's really a gift for them. What are they going to go, wow, oh my gosh, that one time when Amanda gave me, these earrings, they're so cool. They remind me of her because just like hers, they don't match,
Yeah.
but they
And
match
that's
together.
right. That is like when we had that conversation, we were talking about like what is my strategic gift? What do I want to do? Especially as someone who's like trying to get out there as a speaker or a thought leader and getting invited to spaces, um, and getting paid or not. We're in a competitive space, whether it's speaking or emceeing or getting that role. And it's not that it's a manipulation tactic, because I want to talk about that. Because like I'm not giving a gift to be like, oh, I want to stand out, but
Right.
also I want to gift this person to say thank you. Like it's a two-part, it's a win-win-win. I get to support local businesses. I get to say thank you in a way that is personal and unique to me, but then also it makes me stand out. And okay, I need to know what your thought is on this, Kelsey, because I got some Lashback. Lashback is like one person being loud when I was like talking about strategy and networking and strategy. Like, and this was before I met you. This was long before I met you. Cause I think if this would have happened to me when I knew you, you would have like shut that down real quick. So I was like, this is how you network with intention. Like,
Yeah.
you ask questions, you listen, you receive who they are, and then you cater your responses that are unique to you to that person,
Right.
which for us could be on the crafting side because that's where we connected originally, but also fashion and color and design. And this person was like, "You're such a manipulator. You're hiding the truth. You're not showing who you really are." What are your thoughts? And I'm just because this is how I'm feeling today, I'm feeling a little frisky. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Like when people are like, "Oh, strategic gift giving is XYZ." How do you debunk that?
Interesting point of view. It's
You're so good at that. I've
well,
been like, oh,
years of therapy. Okay.
okay.
Years.
Yeah.
But I'm still getting there. I'm still in therapy, which is very normal. No, but I mean, it's everything in business, everything in life. It's about a relationship. Everything revolves around relationships. How you do business, who you do business with, you have to have a relationship. Do you care about that company's ethics, what they stand for, what they do, their values, their morals, your personal employees, your personal friends? It's all about the relationships you have. And we know about all the different love languages. Some people give gifts, and who doesn't like a gift? It's not a manipulation tactic. I think there are some sectors in business that prohibit you from giving gifts. Like if you work with government, they will explicitly say in their contracts, we cannot accept any gifts.
Yeah.
And it just depends. It's case by case. Like there's some companies where you can't give gifts over $50, and that's fine. But it's not
Yeah.
a manipulation tactic. It's a relationship, and it's a token of your appreciation. And I'd love to talk with them.
I wish I would have known you because it would have helped me like see it differently. I think I get like really, especially when it comes to gift giving or like relationship building. Maybe it's a personal thing. Maybe I need more therapy around it. But like if somebody attacks, I'm like, oh, whole body shut down. Like,
Oh, you don't need therapy. You are one of the most evolved humans I've ever met. And talking with you, I'm like, when I see you, I'm like, oh, okay, we gotta go. Like, let's make this happen. Let's go.
let's do the things.
This whole
I appreciate you.
I'm like, all right, let's go. But no, I mean, they probably just received some terrible gifts and like they had a Christmas. Like, I'm sorry.
Okay, so I'm wondering what the transition for you was like, because I'm sure we have a bunch of people watching that are in a corporate job or in a role that they thought was their path, and they're finding themselves segueing and maybe struggling with the segue,
Wow.
or maybe they're in the middle of it. Maybe they're in the middle, in the thick of it, or just at the beginning. What advice do you have for people that are finding themselves? I don't want to use this word because it's just pivoting. Sorry,
Yeah.
pivoting.
Yeah.
And finding themselves at the beginning or wherever. How did you get to being entrepreneur? Because I feel like those are two very different things. Being on a team in
Yeah.
your career field to now being like, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a creative entrepreneur. This is what we do. Tell me.
I never thought I would own a business, really. Like my goal back when, like, I don't know, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, was to be the press secretary for the governor, to be the press secretary for the New York City Police Department. I liked the crisis comm, the high intensity, the adrenaline rushing, go. I didn't think I would play all day and, work with happy people. Like I didn't, this wasn't in my playbook.
Right.
So, it's like, and it takes a minute. When I started GiveWrapped, I was still working in those PR jobs. And it was just kind of this, I would wrap people's presents. That's how it started. I would wrap gifts for people at Christmas.
Mm.
Then another Christmas came and I wrapped presents, and then other people started calling me for other holidays. It wasn't just Christmas. And then weddings and birthdays and anniversaries. And when I realized that it could connect more to the business side of things, it just kind of clicked there. But I didn't know that out of the gate. And like everybody, when you're starting a business, even when you're not starting a business, even when you're working, you see the companies change so much month to month, 6 months, a year. It looks totally different in like a year. So you can't always forecast what it's going to look like in a year, in 5 years, and something I'm really passionate about is, not to totally deviate, is consciousness and being present. Uh,
Ooh.
it really connects to gifting and like being present for it. And your journey is your journey. You're not going, all the terrible sayings are so true, and it's like,
Well, I want to dive a little deeper. Tell me a little bit more about consciousness, presence, and all of that beautiful stuff in gifting. Like, why are you so focused on it? And where does it fall into your business model?
I'm so focused on it because I think like a lot of people, have operated unconsciously. And then once you're aware of it, you're like, oh,
Whoops.
I'm going to use that. I'm
Yeah.
going to do something very differently now. And, rather than just going in autopilot and listening to what's actually being said to you, around you, and functioning from a space of, I can't worry about what's happened. I can't worry about what's going to happen. I can just be here right now and I can enjoy this. And this is like, whatever I'm doing, if I control how I'm spending my time, right? Like I get to pick what I'm doing. And we don't know how long we have on this planet. And so why not have as much fun as possible? Like, and so like, yeah, we all have, and on the other side, we have bills to pay.
Sure.
We have responsibilities,
Yes.
but it's not something that needs to consume us. We can, and when I look at that, it's like, oh yeah, delight in the present. That was like a tagline I was playing with for years. And it's like, well, if we have a gift, and you have the perfect gift for somebody, right? Because you are a gift giver and you have the perfect idea of the perfect gift for,
Yeah.
and you get that wrapped in a certain way because so-and-so is just going to love it. It's just perfect for them. When they get that and they're opening it, they're like, oh, you can't help, but you're not thinking about other things. You're like, oh my gosh, what is this? You had this wrapped professionally? What? That's a thing? It's just, it takes you back to really what matters.
Right.
And it's the people. It's always the people. So, and how it relates to business, it's just being where I am, figuring it out.
I love it. I think it's really important to talk about that. When you said you were operating unconsciously for a long time, I find that very interesting. For me, in particular, right now, I've been operating, I wouldn't say completely unconsciously, but I would say like half asleep, and over the weekend, we had the Clothing Swap Festival. Some of you joined us, including Kelsey. So thank you so much. It was
So
beautiful. It was amazing. And I feel like I've been these last couple years like, oh, I have to do this to get, it's a means to an end. I have to work this job so I can get here. I have to do these swaps so I could do this. I have to speak so I could do that. And it's always kind of like goal oriented. And I like to think of myself as a present person. But when I'm working through the work, when I'm going through the work of things,
yeah.
I find myself very like robotic, I guess. Like I'm just setting this up. I'm getting it done. I'm getting I got the links for the glow show. I got the blah, blah, blah. I got and something happened to me on Sunday morning, like right after the swap. Something happened to me on Monday, the week of the swap. It happened to a lot of people. We watched a particular person share a particular speech on a very particular stage. I'm not a very political person, but I felt it in my gut. And I did realize, there's 600 people coming on Saturday. And what do we need to do to make sure that like we maintain, grow, and continue to achieve what it is that we need to achieve, which is relationship building. What we really need right now is better relationships so that we can share, we can lean in, we can grow, we can teach, all of that beautiful stuff. And I felt like on Sunday morning, I woke up like very emotional in a deeply positive way. Like it was like usually, and I was telling you this, usually I beat myself to a pulp like after an event. I'm like, oh, this is wrong, blah, blah, blah. But I feel like on Sunday I saw this video and it was talking about like what are you bringing to the table? Just like any of these other videos that you may see. And I'm like, oh, I'm bringing community to the table. Like I'm bringing like the ability to commune people to the table. And I've been working on this unconsciously, selfishly for the last 15 years. But now we find ourselves at a particular point, and I'm particularly good at it now. And it all boils down to it's weird that I feel like this whole time I've just kind of been doing it because my body's like guiding me in that way. But I feel like on Sunday I was like, oh, wait, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And this is what I can do. And this actually will help people. So it was just an interesting moment. And that like conscious, unconscious note was very poignant for me right now, I think. I don't think I've been unconscious, but I don't think I've been conscious,
Well, there are no accidents in the universe,
Right.
I mean, there aren't. And you are exactly where you need to be. Everything that you have done has led you to this point. And if you haven't been to the swap, you got to come in April. It was awesome.
Thank you.
It was, yeah. And even before, I think it was in November, you did this ambassador photo shoot. I'm not a mom. And it was fun. It was empowering. You kind of felt like, yeah, I can pose in front of a camera, and then you see the picture, like,
I thought you looked beautiful. But that was, it's like a lot of those pieces, and I think people forget this. And I had last week we talked with Tara. She's also a member here at Bamboo, and she kept saying things like, "Oh, I'm not ready for this," or "I'm not ready to tell the world that I do X, Y, Z." And I love the contradiction because she's like, "I'm finally ready. Let's get on the show." And then you're over here like, everything I've ever done is adding to the statue that is now Kelsey. You know what I mean? And there will be more and more layers to come after this. And it's refreshing because I feel like both Tara and I can get in that space where like, oh, I got to start over. I got to take another class. I got to get another credential. I got to get another. Yeah.
I mean, it's not all rainbows and like sunshine here. I mean, but we're all like that. This is just, it's the growth. It's like, and it's like you had, like you realize you're like on Sunday, you're like, okay, you see it. It's kind of like you can zoom out and you see the big picture, and that's such a gift there.
When you zoom out and see your big picture, what do you see?
Well, if we're talking about the craft room, that's another story. So I have my home studio is in my basement, and this is kind of a backdrop area that I take pictures in. It's a wall in a room in my house. But if we're not talking about the mess in here, I just see a lot of fun. I see play, and I see thoughtfulness, and I see a shift of how we foster relationships with people. And I think I know it's going to get a lot bigger. And it's going to change in ways that I have no idea. But it's a good thing. I think it's a way to help people think differently And I think it's a way to help connect people.
Hmm. I'm curious. You're very focused on play and fun. And it took me a long time to get there because I feel like when I was in my early 20s as a Capricorn, I was very like anti play, anti fun. Like I was an old lady when I was a child. I was like, and now I'm getting into a space where I'm like comfortable, like, oh, I've done enough or whatever. Like it's intentional. I need to play. Why is play so important to you?
Oh
Why
my,
is fun so important to you? I mean, other than the obvious,
well, I
but
didn't have a lot of it like you. I thought that, not that I didn't have a lot of it. I saw fun in a different way. So when you're
mm,
working in crisis communications, you have the news calling you all hours of the day and night, 24/7 news cycle, 4 o'clock on a Friday is the norm. Your phone's
mm,
about to blow up, issue
right.
a statement, and it's really stressful because there's a negative story. If you don't get
Mm,
your statement out within 20 minutes, they don't care. They run their story, and then it runs all weekend. Your CEO is blowing up your phone. Why the hell is this story running? This is bullshit. And and it is. And then people don't see the follow-up story. They only
mm-hmm.
hear the first story.
The
So
viral one. Yeah.
yeah, and they don't hear the follow-up of like, oh, actually, this is what happened, or this is how it was rectified.
Right.
Um, and it was really stressful. It was really intense. I worked through COVID. I
Mm,
was originally hired to be a speechwriter for a local businessman, and my roles drastically changed. It was really fun when I was doing like this executive visibility plan and coming up with the speeches and talking points. It was awesome. But then when COVID hit, I was on like the team to figure it out, and that was
mm,
really scary at the time. We didn't
yeah.
know anything.
Right.
Um, and like all the news that was coming in, so heavy.
Right.
So scary. And like people we knew and loved and our friends who were healthy were dying.
Right.
It was terrible. And it was
Mm.
so scary. We were wiping down our groceries, and it with wipes and bleach and wearing gloves and masks and afraid to touch our mail
Mm-hmm.
because we didn't know.
Right.
And so I think that I had operated in this place of fear and anxiety and stress
Mm.
that I wasn't playing. I wasn't having fun. And I had been laid off from public relations jobs 3 times. And it will totally kill your ego and your sense of
Yeah.
entirely. And it just, I think once you hit like rock bottom and you hit those lows, you're like, I don't want to feel like that. I don't want to be like that. I know how good it can be. And I'm going to pick that.
Mm.
So, I mean, I work on this every day, working on my mindset. And, yeah, there are times I totally spiral down and I'm like, I hate this. This is terrible. Nobody likes me. How am I going to make it? Am I even doing the right thing? Should I close the business?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's very
How do
normal.
you how do you work through that energy, like you personally, without maybe it is cliche because some of that cliche, like you said, like cliche stuff is cliche for a reason. Like
Right?
everybody says it for a reason. But like, how do you get out of those slumpy phases? Because I did feel like I was the only one. And I joke about it every single swap that we do. And I always like point out my husband whenever I talk about Labrie and his impact on the swap. Like, if it wasn't for him, like I'd already quit 50 times. But like he didn't let me quit. Like
Yeah.
I quit on the first day on the first swap. I quit on the second swap. I quit at least 3 times every swap. And like he's like,
Yeah.
no, you can't. We have 10 minutes to get there. You can't quit right now. Like everybody's gonna be there. Um, but
So,
yeah, it's like those moments of like dread, like what am I doing?
yeah.
For me, I have to just do the thing and I have to be with the people. Like once I get to the event, it's the scaries before the event. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, is anybody going to show up? Is this going to work? Are we going to completely fail? And I just need to get to the event and I need to see the first human that's not myself or my husband. And usually I get in the present, right? I get in the flow of things and I'm like, oh yeah, this is why we do this. But I'm still learning tactics for afterwards. So how do you get out of
the existential dread of, oh my God,
being an entrepreneur? Yeah.
Well, and I hope that you can change that, because especially this past weekend, you had like more than 600 people there.
Yeah.
It's just going to keep getting bigger. I mean, you had so much news coverage. I hope those days are over for you.
You know what? And I told you this yesterday, but I'm going to say it on air. You said something to me recently when I was at a big speaking engagement. You were there. And then after the event, I saw you and I was saying something self-deprecating. And you were like, that's really low vibrational. Like, and I was like, it was so simple. It was not, you didn't do anything crazy. You didn't say anything wild. All you said was you looked at me and you're like, that's low vibrational thinking, and walked away. And I was like, oh, And now
I'm sorry that I'm so heartless.
No, it wasn't. It was exactly what I needed, because now when I'm having those moments, I have this angel Kelsey in my mind that's like, that's low vibrational. That's low vibrational. Do you want to be operating in that space? Like, no, I really do not, And so now I am finding myself post swap. Usually I go into like a super depression spiral after event. Like all the endorphins are gone, like I'm depleted of energy, physically, mentally, spiritually. After this swap, I feel like aware of it.
Yeah.
Which is really important. I'm like, oh, I see some of these bad habits coming up, like me hyper criticizing myself, things I can't control, things I could never change, things, whatever. But I'm aware of it. And I'm like, oh, well, I see you. And I just let it pass. I'm letting them pass. I'm just letting it happen and letting it pass. But I think the lack of awareness, the asleep version of me, the unconscious part that was just allowing the spiral, I think she's waking up. So it's not gone.
No.
But like much more aware than I was last quarter of that behavior, Well,
once you wake up, you're up.
Right.
And you realize you're like, oh,
whoops.
This is what I'm going to do. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
cool. And it's like, you can't get on yourself for like for what you've done. And like, we all do it, but to like, get out of it, like go outside, get off your phone, don't take your phone with you.
Yeah.
Don't look at Instagram. Don't look at Facebook. Don't look at TikTok. Just don't, or nothing. Go for a walk by yourself, take your dogs, go outside, spend 15 minutes in the grass, in the snow, whatever. But that's something that always helps me, is to get outside. I have 2 great dogs. They keep me busy and crazy. But also it helps, like getting some exercise is huge. And then like changing up your routine. Like if you can take something a little, like, I don't know, kind of have like a spontaneous hour where it's like, I'm going to walk somewhere different today, or I'm going to go meet people whom I've never met before. And just kind of like changing up something that's not totally changing your whole schedule, because as creatives, as Tara was talking about, we need consistency.
Yes. Yeah, it's true.
Which the
duality.
Yeah. But it's just kind of like being creative with your everyday, and finding those things where you can really ground yourself with, if it's meditation, if it's prayer, but just connecting to you, and just not believing the thoughts, because you are not your thoughts at all.
Right.
And when you realize that, it's just kind of like, huh. And I think there's something like I think I read it was like it's an obscene amount. It's like maybe 40,000 thoughts in a day.
And I feel like mine's probably double that.
It might be. Maybe for you, you're always moving fast, and I don't even know how you have time to think.
It's happening.
But it's like, most of our thoughts are not new, and most of them are critical. And so if we're always criticizing ourselves, one, that's not gonna move the needle, and it's not going to make you feel good. And why do that?
It's a
Like, we
bad
should.
habit, I think. I think that's really what it is.
It
You
is.
know, and now that actually it's funny, I'm glad that we're having this conversation because I'm in the thick of it right now. But it is a bad habit. And I worked through this bad habit of like negative self-talk before when it came to like my body, my image, the way I look, the way I dress. Cause there was a point in my life, you never met this girl, you never met this version of me, you never met this girl. And a lot of you have not. But little Amanda Sweet, little baby Amanda was very self-loathing, very self-hating. Like there was no bits of my body that I liked. There was no parts of my brain that I enjoyed. I had this narrative that was constantly, just like saying all kinds of terrible things. Like I should not be on this planet, things like that. And I would do behaviors that like mimic those kind of thoughts, right? But in my early 20s, it was like, oh, this is just like a record that somebody else gave me, right? Because a lot of those thoughts about my body and myself were from someone else who shall not be named,
Right.
and it was like it was their parents saying that to them, and then they're saying it to me or whoever. So I had somebody else's records. Somebody just gave me a crate of their awful records, and they were like, these are yours now. We
Right.
share these and you're going to listen to these every single day. And I was like, okay. But in my early 20s, I was like, oh, I don't have to listen to those records anymore.
Right.
Those are not mine. They don't belong to me.
Right.
But the first time I ever was, and I tell this story a lot and I won't go deep into it, but the first time I ever said I love you to myself was like the deepest, darkest, worst day of my life.
Mm.
And I was in the middle of having an abortion.
Mm.
It was a 48-hour period. I had to like go to the hospital. They induced me. I had to go home, come back the next day. And this is me like leaving my abuser, right? So this was like this final, it was a very final, we're done. This is over. And I remember looking at myself in the mirror and being like shaky, crying, hurting, and saying it and feeling really weird about it. Like this is the weirdest thing I've ever done. I'm
Yeah.
looking in the mirror, I'm talking to myself,
Yeah.
but also I'm like, oh, I can say something different. I'm allowed to say something different. Nothing bad is going to happen. If something bad is going to happen, is it going to be worse than this? Right? So
God.
I'm glad that we're having this conversation because I've done this already. I've done this part already, but now I got to do it for my current self because all of these, like, you're not doing good enough, you're not working hard enough, that's also somebody else's records.
Right.
Same person whom I
Right.
love, you know?
God, I'm so
Um,
sorry you went through that, Amanda.
I needed
That's
to. I needed to. I had to. And I got to. Like, there could have been a version of me that didn't learn shit from that, that never woke up.
well,
That was
listen.
like, okay, this is happening. And then do it again and again and again. Instead, I learned my lesson and, you know, grew into a better version of myself. But I need to do it again. And I can and I will. And I'm telling you, Kelsey, and everybody
Yes.
here watching, that I'm going to be working on that because I do really beat myself up after
Yeah.
events. And I go inward and I get in that weird space and I hide and I hermit and I rot a little bit. I don't want to do that anymore.
No.
Yeah.
I think you should please continue choosing something different. And I think a
Yeah.
couple things that were pinging when you were saying that, like, you're very active on social media,
Mm-hmm.
and that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I think, you're totally an influencer. You're out there, and it's not like you're an influencer. I mean, like, you are the real deal. Like, you are the real connector, the community builder, the real influencer. And, we kind of mentioned yesterday, we ran into each other at the office, and it was like on your feed, and, oh, I saw this, and this. And it's like what you consume
Mm.
media wise I mean, food, everything, the relationships, the conversations you have are so big. And they contribute to those tens of thousands of thoughts that you have every day. And, as a publicist, I read so many newspapers every day. Like I would read the Detroit News, the Detroit Free Press. Every week I would get an edition of Cranes, so I would read that as well. But daily I would
Mm-hmm.
read parts, not the entire thing, because I also had to work. The New York
Yeah.
Times, Wall Street Journal. So I would have 4 papers a day that I would have to read, among other hits that were coming in, because I wanted to know what's going on in the world. And you know what?
Sure.
I canceled every damn media subscription and every news subscription. I don't read the news. Like, because it was so heavy. And
Yeah.
I realized, like, I don't want to flood my brain and my thoughts and where I'm going with all this terrible stuff. Because yeah, there's a lot of terrible stuff going on in the world, but there's also a
Yeah.
lot of great things going on. And if we
Yeah.
can focus on those and tell those stories and pull those out and recognize people who are doing great things and show them that we care and tell them that and keep them in our circle, that's
Mm-hmm.
what it's about.
Mm.
And I think, taking a break from social media is awesome too.
Oh, I love it.
It's
I love it.
but it's tough, because then it's like, but I think we need it. I think we need it in order to function.
I
Because
think there are a lot of people that think that, like, especially in the entrepreneurial space, a lot of people will be like, if I'm not posting on social, my business isn't going to do well. And if I've learned anything, and I've said this before, but if I've learned anything from being in Bamboo, the people that are the most successful are on the social media the least. Like, and
Interesting.
we've done business in our world, in our ecosystem without social media. It's all relationship building. And you know what? Every single time I take a break, people don't notice. Nobody's like like in my DM saying like, where you been? First big break I ever took, that did happen, but
Yeah.
it was like over 6 months that I stepped away from social. But
Wow.
that part was important. That was really important for me to do. So I needed to realign. But now, like, there will be like 3 weeks, 6 weeks, but people don't notice because the algorithm is pushing stuff anyway. And so, like, even when I took 6 months off, people are like, you're so busy, you're doing all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, I've been in the house for 6 months not talking to anybody, but whatever the algorithm's telling you is true, I guess so. You know what I mean? Because they're still getting pushed the stuff. So my
Right.
suggestion is, if you're an entrepreneur and you need a break, take a break. People are not going to notice, especially if you're still operating your business and you're still meeting with people and talking with people. Like, stuff like this is important. And even when I take social media breaks, I continue to do the Let's Glow show because I feel this is more for me than anything. Like, I'm like, oh, I'm trying to like stay connected, also making content. It's for us. It's for us, This is not like a 30-second sizzle reel. This is like us getting to know each other, us getting to share, and then our audience getting to like learn about our lived experiences and grow themselves. And maybe they start their own show. Like, after I started the Let's Glow show, I had like a number of people reach out to me saying, can you show me how to do this? I think I taught at least 4 to 5 people my exact model. I'm like, I use this, I use StreamYard, I use Canva, I use Google Forms, I use Streak. So these are all the apps that I use to make it Calendly, and these are the apps that I use to make it work. And I'm like, great. We need more people being able to share their space, share their stories in a way that's comfortable for them,
Right.
and maybe that's not online.
And that's just what you are and who you are and what you do.
I love it.
It's the Amanda special. It's like, it's so great. And I think, yeah, it's always so fun to have you and you ask you something and Amanda, how do I do this? And you're just like, here, and what about this, or here. So it's always so refreshing. So thank you.
You're welcome. I appreciate it because like my brain is constantly going a million miles a minute, but it's like, because I'm constantly talking to people like you. I'm learning from you. I'm learning from Tara. I'm learning from all of the guests. I'm learning from everybody I talk to. I'm like, I gotta get some of this stuff out. Like,
Well, you're
you
constantly
gotta
creating,
release.
and that's the trick. That's
Yes.
the trick, because once you get stagnant, you're screwed. Like, you gotta go, like, okay, you can't stop. Like, that's the thing. You got to keep moving. And also, another thing is kind of to go back to what you were saying about, like, how do you stay, kind of conscious? But it's like your work can't be everything all day. And as entrepreneurs, yeah, we don't work 9 to 5. We don't have a 40-hour work week, but
Right.
you have to have things that you do outside of work, outside of like your hobbies, your friends, your family, and
Mhm.
you have to just have other creative outlets. Like, gift wrapping is not my creative outlet. It's
What is
not.
your creative outlet?
I love making pottery,
Oh,
you
you know,
know?
and
Yes.
arts and scraps, pottery. Okay.
We're
Making
talking
sure
about
you're aware.
pottery class together, just so you know.
Okay, great. I love that. That makes me very, very happy.
Yeah. Like,
But
you got to keep moving. And that's the thing. And when you find yourself stuck, you know, somebody I love deeply the other day said, like, what if you didn't have a past? What if you didn't have a history? What if, who would you be today? I was like, oh. And it's like, I'm going to keep running. I'm going to go. I'm going to
yeah,
just try it out.
I love it. And that's exactly how I live. Like, and I'm finding myself giving myself that exact advice right now. Like, when I'm feeling it, and it's only been 3 days since the swap, or however, 4 days. So I'm telling myself, like, continue on with the to-do list, keep it going. So I'm not like now overthinking the lack of the work that I'm accomplishing because I'm like in my head about it. But whenever and every single time I feel stuck, I either take a class. Those 6 months, in those 6 months I took offline, I learned how to sew. I made 6 garments and I wrote a book that's 250 pages. It's not published, it's not ready, but like I needed to do something else. I needed to be someone else. I needed to try on a different aura, a different energy. And I feel like I came out a lot more whole than I did before, you know? So that
Huh.
keep going advice is like 100%. I'm like right there with you. Take a class, go to a different store, follow your intuition. If my intuition right now is telling me I want to sew things. So that is like my next, like once I get my office set up, we sewing. We're gonna get back in the sewing machine. But yeah, like keep going, keep building, keep creating. Try something new. Get like be sucky at something. It
Yeah.
reminds you like how human you are, you know, like, oh yeah, it's cool to suck at stuff because that means you're trying, you
Yeah.
know?
Nobody's good at something really like the first time they try.
Right. Like I started DJing for fun. Like Breezy's like, you should try it. And I'm like, this is actually really cool. I'm like learning all the things. Anyway, I 100% I live by that. Keep trying, keep going, keep moving. Because the second you sit, it's just, you know,
Why?
like
Yeah.
standing water. You know,
Yeah.
it needs to be a river.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and because you see that because you've evolved so much. Because you've learned a lot of hard lessons, even with what you
oh
shared
yeah,
today. Like
oh yeah.
you've you saw how things could be, and you're like, no.
I'm good. I'm all
You
right. Yeah. It's
well,
already been an hour. Kelsey,
thank you so
why?
much.
Why? Okay, I have two final questions.
Yes.
Where can people find you and book you for your services? It's a two-part last question. And then I have one more after that.
Okay. So our company is Give Wrapped, Michigan's gift design studio. You can find us at givewrapped.com with a W, not ours. We're not rappers. Terrible rapping. Um, and givewrapped.com. And we are located inside the amazing Bamboo in downtown Royal Oak at 220 South Main Street, where you can find the amazing Amanda, Allie, and Abby, and other amazing girls at the front desk, and a ton of other cool entrepreneurs in the building.
100%. Thanks for the shout out. I appreciate it.
It's,
And you're every time you're on TV, every time you do an interview, people are like, I heard there's a gift wrapping place here. I'm like, oh, gift wrap? Yeah, yeah. But now I'm going to picture you also rapping. So just so you know.
Yeah.
Before we go, what is your final piece of advice? Like, what is the last thing you want to leave our amazing listeners with?
You know, everything is all right. And like on those days that sometimes you just can't, you're just like, you know what, you have to look at what you're grateful for and write a list. Just even if it's on your phone, just put down some stuff that you're grateful for. I have a gratitude list. I add to it all the time. And I get out of my head as much as possible. So, it's all right. Have fun, play, try something new. Don't take life so seriously. It's really not about that. Everybody's in their heads thinking about themselves. So go out there, tell people you love them, show them you care, give them a thoughtful gift, and just, love people, love each other, and do the right thing. So.
Oh, I love it. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you so much. I always say I need this. Like every single time I have the call, it's like it's very poignant, right on time. And this one is exactly that. I needed to hear this. I needed to remember why and how and all the things that I've been through to get us here, So I'm really grateful for that. And you're always giving me amazing things to reflect on. And you are literally in the back of my mind every time I'm being low vibrational, reminding me, cut that shit out. So thank you for being the voice of reason.
Well, thank you. I just look up to you all the time and I'm like, okay, I got to be like Amanda. I'm just going to get this shit done. Go crazy. I'm going to have fun. Nope, not doing that. Yep, here. And so thank you, because you are such a contribution to my life. Every time I'm like, I feel so energized after talking with you. So thank you. You're just the best.
I love you. I'm grateful for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yay. And thank all of you for joining us on the Let's Glow Show. Again, every single week we talk to creative entrepreneurs. So we will be back next Wednesday. And if you did miss the clothing swap, it's all good. The next one's coming up in April. So make sure you check us out on Instagram or on our website, theremap.co, to join us as a brand ambassador, volunteer, beneficiary, contributor, guest, and the list goes on. Thank you all so much. And we love you and have a great rest of your week. Bye.
See you.